Okay, it's time for the top books, the top 5 books of 2022. I already did my 2023 book, so we're going backwards in time for some reason. So gotta go watch my 2023 books. So yeah, before we begin, we'll just have a quick look. Here's a quick look at all the books that I thought were going to be good this year, but weren't. Okay, so that's that. So let's go to the top 5, and we're going to start with number 5, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. This is a very short book. It's like a children's book, basically. It's a very short children's book. And it's nice. It's a nice book. There's one thing about it is that the main character is kind of not very likable at the start, and that's kind of on purpose. It is kind of on purpose because it's the journey of the character and it's the transformation of a character, right? It's entirely worth it for the ending, and the ending is grey. It's absolutely what the ending should be, and it's so short that you should definitely just read it anyway, just because of how short and everything that it is. But it's funny because the setup is to have this character who has their strangenesses, and then they go through this journey, and then at the end it is a nice ending, right? But I think I still would have preferred it if they were just nice, right? So it's about this toy rabbit, right? And my favourite toy is also a bunny, a rabbit as well as my favourite toy, right? So it has meaning for me, and the ending is very meaningful and really, really nice. But I still think overall it just would have been nicer if they were just nice, and the difficulty of the journey was the difficulty of the journey. I don't think it needed a transformational aspect of it, because it's about, I can't talk too much about it, but it's about the process by which they go through that. So yeah, it's fine, but because it's so short, it's absolutely worth it for the ending. So yeah, that's number 5. Okay, number 4 is Monkey. Okay, so this is Journey to the West. This is an extremely long. This is known as one of the 4 great Chinese novels, one of the first books from China. So Journey to the West is a really long saga about going to the West, which is to say India, to pick up the Buddhist scriptures. That's what that's actually about. And the original thing is very long and has lots of Buddhist sort of stories and stuff in it. This version, this is Arthur Waley's translation of Journey to the West, and so he's called it Monkey. And so that's what's more popular and more well known. And what he's done is he's chosen basically his favorite chapters, basically the best chapters. So it's still the whole story, but it is edited down. And I don't usually like to read edited down stuff, but the original is very long and very repetitive and stuff. So he's chosen the absolute best chapters, and he tells the chapters in their entirety. Then the chapters themselves are not edited. He's just chosen the best chapters, right? And anyway, so it's actually really funny, and it's actually a really good saga, and this is a very clear inspiration for a lot of sagas, particularly Asian sagas, particularly Japanese sagas. If you watch anime now in the modern day, there's a lot of inspiration from this, because it is a group of characters going through a journey and going to a set goal, and that's something that you get a lot in modern Japanese anime and stuff. So this is actually surprisingly funny, and it sounds like it might be dry, but because of how he's picked it up and put it together, it's not dry, and it's actually really fun, and the characters are funny, and there's all these just bonkers things, like crazy, stupidly bonkers things that happen. So it's good and fun, and yeah, I think there's a few moments where it's maybe a little slow and a little bit not as fun, but most of it is basically fun and bonkers and silly, and it's just kind of good to go on the adventure with them, and the fact that it's also so old as well, and it sets up those feelings that you'd get from a modern day saga. I think it's really good. So yeah, Okay, so number 3 is Watership Down, and this is a proper chunky book as well. It's proper long and stuff like that. It's just really good. It's the rabbits. They're also going on a journey. They're going on an adventure, but each rabbit is unique personality. He has written each of these rabbits so well, their unique personalities. I mean, he says in his introduction that he's based them on people that he's known in his life, real people. So they have these really strong personalities to each of the characters, and each character, because they all need to rely on each other to process through the story. Not one heroic character can do one heroic thing. So everyone's a different character and stuff like that. and it makes you appreciate them for their own different reasons and stuff. I mean, everyone's got their favorite rabbit basically because of how their personalities are and stuff. So it's fun, and the chapters are sort of interrupted with these sort of fairy tale-esque sections. And for me, although they were somewhat relevant to the plot, and that was kind of good, I also found that those sections like slowed it down for me a bit. I didn't like find them as good. Like, it's already quite long anyway, and I just think that they lengthened it a bit too much. There's supposed to be a sort of a fairy tale aspect of it, and I know that for some people that's like a really positive thing to have, but for me, I was like, I just wanted to get back to my rabbits. I just wanted to get back to the rabbits and stuff, so that slowed it down a little bit for me. But overall, it's about their character and their strength of character, and I think that that's really nice that you get to partake on that journey with them and stuff, and they're sweet and they're nice, and yeah, and it's nice because you'll sort of recognize yourself in one of the rabbits, and you recognize the other people that you know, and it's nice to see them going through things to show off their reliability and their strength and stuff. So yeah, it's a really good, yeah, it's a classic for a reason. So yeah, I do think you should give it a go as well. Okay. Okay, so number 2 is Captain Blood. Okay, and I wasn't sure what to think when I started reading this, right? Because it is old now, okay? It does read old. It does read a bit old-fashioned, okay? That's just something to be aware of when reading it. And the start is quite grim as well, so I wasn't sure what to think when I was starting this off, right? The start was quite grim, but the grimness of the start is necessary to set up the cruelty of other people, which allows him, Captain Blood, because he is actually a doctor, it allows him to shine even brighter, because what's good about him is that he's very intelligent and he's very kind and he's a proper right gentleman as well. So whilst this is a pirate book, what made it exciting was that it wasn't necessarily all of that, ha, you've captured your ship and all that sort of thing. It was that, but it wasn't necessarily that. He's actually a right gentleman, and that made it even more exciting because it meant that when he comes up against his enemies, he's dealing with them with intelligence and basically a gentlemanly calmness and stuff, and that made it even more exciting, even though it was also action-based, right? And so it was funny because it would set up the villains were doing something, and then he'd always outsmart them just by being clever and calm and stuff like that. And I liked that there were so many different scenarios where he was always above them in that way, and that just made it really, really exciting. So it's got all of those piratey elements, but it's also got that intellectual stuff that is applied to his character. So it was just really, really fun. And like every turn I was like, well, what's he going to do now? What they going to do now? What's he going to do? And stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely has its archaic moments because it is old, but overall it's just like really, really exciting once the start has gotten out of the way, although that is a necessary core to it. Yeah, it was really good and I really like it and it's really fun and stuff. So yeah, I really like him. He's great. So yeah, okay, that's number 2. Okay, we're going to do number 1, right? We're at number 1 already. Oh my goodness. Number one is The Exorcist. Okay, so I didn't even, I obviously had no idea what I was going to expect from this. I'm surprised, honestly. I'm surprised I'm going to put it number 1. I'm surprised I'm putting number 1, I'll see. But just everything about it. So it's just really well written, right? As soon as you start reading it, like the opening paragraph is like, that's well written. Like, well, that's good, right? So the whole thing's like well written. The characters themselves are well written. They have their own motives, they have their own processes and stuff like that. And they have more depth to them just than the surface aspect level of we're in a situation that isn't nice, right? They have more to them than that. And that's really cool. And I like them. And okay, so obviously I have no intention of watching this movie or anything like that because it looks like scary. So I don't want to go and I don't like scary things. Like it looks like a scary movie, but I didn't find this book scary, right? What this book was about for me was about the tensions and the hope and the difficulty of going through a difficult and strange scenario. And that every turn it would throw more strangenesses at the characters and how they deal with it and how they are they going to break and can they hold on to their soul of what their character is because they're being faced with these really strange events that are happening. So yeah, it was just a surprise to me because it was just really well written and really interesting. And I just was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. And it was kind of tense, but in a good way, because they were processing through it and stuff. And yes, all these weird things happen. But it's definitely more about the people and how they deal with it. And that's what made it more exciting and intense for me. So yeah, I really liked it. It was really good. So I'm surprised it's number one, but it is number one just because it was so well written and so well put together and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good, and it has its own little messages that it wants you to think about as you read it and take away from it in the way that you want to read it as well. So yeah, it's really good, and that's number one. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole list, okay? So that was top 5 books of 2022. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite books are. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.